All right, welcome back to Tell Your Story Alaska. Today we're going to continue in our village story list. We're still in the seas, and today we're doing Circle Hot Springs and Clam Gulch. Circle Hot Springs and Clam Gulch. We did Circle last week, and now it's Circle Hot Springs. So obviously there's a connection. They are close to each other. Circle Hot Springs is located just 29 miles southwest of Circle. So obviously they kind of still get their name from being located on the Arctic Circle. At least they thought it was. They're actually a bit off. It's not on the Arctic Circle. But anyway, they use the name Circle Hot Springs. And obviously the difference is there are some hot springs there. So my first question was, what are these hot springs? Because I'm a big fan of hot springs. There's the famous Chena hot springs. I think there's some nice hot springs up in Fairbanks. I haven't really done, the hot spring thing in Alaska. I need to. I know there's some you can fly to that I know about that are very remote. And I've looked into that, but I just haven't done it yet. But I'm hoping this summer to have time to play a little bit, but I don't know, my schedule is filling up quite a bit. Well, a neat thing is, sorry, I'm all over the place today, but my parents just got in yesterday. They're here from the lower 48 visiting. And so I'm going to try to take my dad on some good Alaskan fishing, and someone, and I'm not going to say where, told me about an amazing fishing spot. You do need to have a plane. You need to be able to land on the airstrip over there is actually not too challenging, but you do need to be able to land on a relatively short strip. And that's what we're going to do, and try to catch some huge trout and northern pike. So I'm excited about that. Where did I go with that? Hot springs. Circle Hot Springs. These were interesting. It says that Circle Hot Springs were used by Athabascans prior to the gold rush. So I can imagine that this was some prime real estate for the Athabascans, in such a cold climate. And I do wonder, in the dead of winter, would they climb in there, to warm up? But then they knew they had to get out. So did they do that? I don't know. There's no information. It's just yep, the Athabascans used it a long time ago. And that's all we get. And I wish I knew more. How did that work? Would they climb in to warm up in the winter, and then when they got out, then it's negative 50, how do they manage that? Is that a thing? Or you could sit near the springs and be warm. Anyway, I don't know. So who knows what that history is? I just wish so much I had a hidden camera and I could see, but that's not possible. I just wonder, were there feuds? Were they fought over the coveted springs? Maybe a family kind of shared it and it was a source of comfort and peace. I don't really know. The first non-native to discover the springs is William Greets. In 1893. William Greets. I tried to look up some information on William Greets. I found nothing. I even asked AI, who was William Greets? It's I couldn't find anything. So, that's all I know. A guy named William Greets in 1893. 1893 is kind of pre-gold rush. So it would have been perhaps an explorer or a guy just trying to get away. And I'm not really sure. Another source claims that it was discovered by a guy named George Grow. Grow? I think it's Grow because it's Growe. George Grow, while prospecting on Deadwood Creek. The story goes that Grow shot and wounded a moose while hunting, and while following the moose's trail, he crossed an unusually warm creek. So he traced that creek's up to its source, and he located the springs. Later, Grow visiting the springs, while visiting, he noticed some delicious-looking roots growing nearby, and he cooked them up and ate them. After that, he quickly became violently ill, and he died some years later. So presumably, man, if you eat some poisonous roots, And it does say it took him some years to die. Yeah, don't eat the wrong roots. That's rough. Feel bad for George Grau, but he did find those springs. In 1905, someone named Cassius Monahan homesteaded 106 acres around the hot springs and then sold the land to Franklin and Emma Leach in 1909. Now, some sources said that Franklin and Emma Leach owned it since 1905, so it's a little bit, there's some conflicting data there. But Franklin and Emma Leach started to develop this in 1909, a resort. The Leaches constructed a 1,600-foot airstrip along with pioneering aviator named Noel Wien, which was completed in 1924. The resort was centered around a grand 3-story hotel completed in 1930, offering a rustic yet comfortable retreat. I love that, like comfortable and rustic. You know, I'm not an Alaskan that's like going out and trying to survive. I just want to like go out and comfortably enjoy the wilderness. That's kind of my personality. And so this resort would have been right up my alley. The resort flourished as visitors enjoyed the Olympic-sized pool with mineral-rich waters and the chance to watch the aurora borealis. The resort boasted of a tale of a resident ghost believed to be Emma Leach, adding to the allure of the place. In 1924, Circle Hot Springs received its post office, and the first census, including Circle Hot Springs, was in 1930, recording 17 residents. I imagine the 17 were mostly, the owners and employees of the resort, would be my guess. I recorded 29 residents in 1950, and then in the last census data that I can see was in the year 2000. And it just says that the population data is no longer reported. I've never seen that before, where the census just like, we're just not going to report there. I feel like they're supposed to. It's like a government thing. But that's what it says. That's what they did. And it says, due to its remote location and the closure of the resort in 2002, the area has seen a decline in permanent residents. As of now, Circle Hot Springs is primarily of historical interest and does not have a significant year-round population. So it doesn't say no one lives there, but it's weird. If they were going to record 17 residents, you would think they would like go there and be like, hey, how many people are here? That might be less work than even writing that sentence. I don't know. A 1927 newspaper ad, was it 27 or 37? I wrote 27, but I remember in my head that it was 37. Well, this old newspaper ad advertises the hot springs as the Carlsbad of the North, claiming to have health benefits just by sitting in the water. So that made me go, why does it say Carlsbad of the North? Like, what is the Carlsbad of the South? If that, so I looked it up, and the only thing I could find is that it could refer to Carlsbad Caverns in New Mexico, which is just a huge cave system. But I don't know why that's connected to hot springs in Alaska. So there is another like Carlsbad location in the Czech Republic, but I don't think it. So I don't know. Carlsbad of the North. Why would it? Maybe it was a cultural thing back in the 1920s or 30s. I don't know. It reports in this ad that 400 gallons a minute flow out of the springs at 139 degrees. And containing the elements silica, iron, aluminum, calcium, potassium, bicarbonate radical, sulfate radical, and many others. So they're saying it's like a health benefit to soak in the water. The warm water was cleverly used to heat the facilities, and it claimed to be able to keep the buildings warm even if it was negative 72 degrees outside. That is cool. It's 139 degree water. You pump it through pipes to keep the buildings warm. That's pretty cool. I love that. The springs were closed in 2002 because it went out of business. And by 2023, the springs were accessible, but they showed signs of overgrowth and neglect. The abandoned structures showed signs of squatters. You know, if you are a squatter, that's a place. It like I found pictures of the building. It actually looked really nice. I don't know what it's like on the inside, but it still looks really nice, even though the grounds are kind of getting overgrown and stuff. Oh, this is cool. The place is still pursued by ghost hunters, paranormal researchers, history enthusiasts, and adventurers. I don't know. I never really got into those shows where they on TV. I don't even have a TV anymore. But when I had one, they had ghost shows, and they would go into abandoned buildings and say they heard noises and ghosts. So this is one of those buildings, and they say it's the ghost of Emma Leach. So looking at some of the modern photographs, and I found a couple of YouTube videos, you can see what it looks like now. You can still see the pool, and the hot spring water flows through the pool. The buildings are still there, and they're still in actually pretty good shape. And so if you were a pilot, you could potentially just fly in there and hang out. I guess if it's abandoned, no one would stop you. Hang out in some hot springs. That'd be cool. I gotta see how far away this place is. The water still has those minerals, so you can go and get whatever health benefit that is. I don't know. I'm not a health nut. I just try to be healthy, like eat good, but you can soak up the water. And it does still it looks like people still live there, but the data online just says, oh, we're just not really reporting on people there anymore. So I don't know what's up with that. The runway is still registered, and I looked it up on my ForeFlight, and it looks like a nice long gravel runway. Looks like it's in pretty good shape too, so it's probably being used. I can see some planes parked there, and so obviously there are some people at least going in there, living there most likely. And so if you are the sort who wants to get away from civilization, maybe you should check out Circle Hot Springs. And you can soak up some warm hot spring water and check out the Aurora Borealis. Didn't see any signs of a church there for the people living there. And so that is Circle Hot Springs. All right, next village is Clam Gulch. Clam Gulch. Clam Gulch lies on the Kenai Peninsula, where I just spent a couple of days last week at a aviation safety conference. Oh, I got to do this like training. They call it egress, which is if you land your plane in water, it's how to get out of the plane while it's like sinking in the water. And so they put you in this aircraft seat in a pool, and they turn you upside down, and they kind of walk you through, train you how to get out properly. And so I did that. They put me in this seat, strapped me in, and they flipped me upside down in the water. And holding that breath, I had to like make my way out. People made a big deal like it would be really scary and stuff. For me, it wasn't that scary, but I think in real life, in a real egress, it would be scary because the water is so cold, you get shock. The cold shock, which makes you lose your breath very quickly. And then it's an intense situation. So really, you will, in reality, have such a short time. Like, I can hold my breath for, I don't know, a minute. Like, I'm not a super hold breather. But anyway, I'm really diverting here. We're talking about Clam Gulch. Clam Gulch is near where I was doing egress training. And it is down on the Kenai Peninsula. It's halfway between Soldotna and Homer, right on the coast. This spot was first reported in 1947 by these two guys named Barnes and Cobb of the U.S. Geological Survey, and they named the area after the Clam Gulch ravine. The ravine is a small valley located in the western side of Alaska's Kenai Peninsula, only about a half-mile long. So I was like, gulch, what do you mean by gulch? And they use the word ravine. So I know that's like canyon, I'm imagining a small valley, but I was like, why don't they just say like ravine? Why is it gulch? Like, what is a gulch? I've heard the word before, but if you were to press me like, hey, what's a gulch specifically? I was like, okay, time to look it up. So here's what it is. A gulch is a narrow, steep-sided ravine, typically formed by water erosion. I don't know. If you ask me, I'd say it sounds like a small canyon. So why do we have so many words? But we do. So as far as I can tell, the gulch is reference to the oceanside coastal bluffs and beaches. There's absolutely a notable bluff along the coast in this area. It would be really difficult to climb up and down this. It's pretty steep. But if you did make your way down to the beach, you would be rewarded with ocean views of mountains and volcanoes to see. It does look beautiful. Like if you were to go down to the beach at sunset, do some clamming. All right. This says Barnes and Cobb's research studied the sequence of sedimentary rocks, which are approximately 5,000 feet thick. This work provided insights into the tertiary stratigraphy, and paleobotany of the Cook Inlet region. More specifically, they were looking for coal. They wanted to see if there was economic potential in the area. So they studied the coal bed thicknesses, distribution, and potential reserves. And their research is still referenced in modern surveys today. So obviously natural resources like coal are a big part of Alaska, and Clam Gulch is just one small piece of that. Now, prior to the 1940s, Clam Gulch was an isolated area empty of land with just a few residents. So you can imagine that the few people that were there were just sort of the pioneer type folks, the desire for an isolated life, kind of a leave me alone, I'm going to self-survive kind of people. But soon the Sterling Highway was constructed in the 1940s, bringing transportation through the area. By 1952, the road later connected to Anchorage, which made it accessible to the largest city in the state. And so came Clam Gulch. The name Clam Gulch came from an abundance of razor clams on the beaches. Clamming enthusiasts enjoyed the area until a decline in population was noticed, and the Alaska Department of Fish and Game shut down the clamming in that area. Now, I have gone climbing. It was not at Clam Gulch. It was somewhere else. And I'm not sure if I want to say where. I feel like these are one of those things like a local Alaskans, we know these little spots. And like, I don't want to share them. Like I know of some spots that I like to go to, not just for clamming, but for camping and other things. And I just don't really want to say. Anyway, but Clam Gulch used to be a popular climbing place. And there's a gulch there. So Clam Gulch, there you go. Post office was established in 1950. It first appeared in the census in 1970. And as of 2020, the population was 207 residents. There is one church in Clam Gulch called the Church at Clam Gulch, very cleverly named. It says that this church started as a Bible study and it turned into a community church. So I did a quick look at their Facebook page and they have one. There's not much on there, but I get the impression that it's a small, intimate group who meet in a building that they have. It kind of looks like a house converted into like a meeting area. But on their Facebook page, there's kind of yummy looking food. So it does not say a denomination, but by looking at the food buffet they have there, I'm guessing Baptist. So sorry about the stereotype, but I go to a Baptist church. So there you go. In the About section on the Facebook, it says, we are a group of Christians that came together from a Bible study that got too big for our homes. So there you go. There is a church in Clam Gulch there. All right, so that's it for the story of Circle Hot Springs and Clam Gulch. Next week, we will be looking at Clark's Point, which is an old cannery village out on the West Coast, another part of the fishing industry over there, and Kaufman Cove. That one will be fun because it's an old logging camp, which turned into a small village. And it's down on the Alaska Panhandle, like southern Alaska. It's a weird thing to connect the word south in Alaska, but southern Alaska. And down there on the Panhandle, there's just like, I flew over it once when I moved here, I flew along the coast. it's just it's the beauty is stunning. Like this maze of islands, endless places to explore. Like you mean like I'm a fan of like Legend of Zelda, and they have in the Breath of the Wild and the other game, the Tears of the Kingdom. It's like this huge land to explore. Anyway, this area reminds me of that. Unbelievable beauty. All these islands. So Kaufman Cove is an old logging camp there, and we'll talk about that next week. So we'll wrap it up there. Thank you guys for tuning in as we get to know our state one village at a time. We'll see you next week.